Hey guys, it's Brant, and I'm back with another track versus track video. And I've got my co-host Carla. You're over here,
Hello.
and we're going to be doing the track versus track on the solo albums. And I'm sorry this has taken a while. I wanted to get this out for Halloween, but I went on vacation into the boonies, into the Appalachian Mountains in western North Carolina, and even into Tennessee, eastern Tennessee, and went on vacation. And me and Carla and John Be Good actually have shot this episode once before, but the audio was really bad, and I think it was because of something on my end. I had a real bad internet connection, and that footage was really good, and we had such a good time. But I just couldn't release it as the official video because that noise, that I was explaining it to Carla, it gets on your nerves after a while. But what I may do is I may throw it up on my website, and if you go, and I'll make a post about it on my YouTube, and you can go to my website and watch it. I'll probably just put it up there unedited. I was off of my game. I only had one computer monitor. I'm used to working with two when I do these. And Carl will tell you, I was really off of my game that night. And we had a good time in
We
it.
did.
And I really hate that John isn't able to join us for this. I talked to him just before we got started, and he had something come up. He said he couldn't make it. He hated that he couldn't make it, but he told me to go up for me and Carla to go ahead and shoot it without him. And he's with us in spirit. And
Yep.
and I've got his votes in here on the track versus track, and we're just going to do that. We're going to go and we're going to have a good time, and we're going to go on with it.
Yeah. It's
I'm
always a good time when you're talking about Kiss. So, yeah, it's all good.
exactly, it always is. And
hmm
I'm going to be showing while we're doing this. I'm going to be showing a little bit from my Kiss box set, and that's so cool how you see the faces are on there and kind of they're glossy, and they did a
Yeah.
really good job on this. YouTube apparently is pushing this video because the video where I opened this up, because I'm getting a lot of hits on it, and the trend on it is kind of going up like that. So that's really cool for
Yeah.
that. So we'll be showing a little bit of pull as we go through the albums. I'm going to pull out little stuff in that, show that as we go along. Also, I am drinking, and I've got two this time.
Ooh.
And I mentioned I was on vacation, and I told Carla I was going to show these. While I was on vacation, I had a package come from my good friend Andy Moyen, and he's all over Kiss groups. He's in a lot of Julian Gill's stuff, so if you ever watch Kiss FAQ, he's on there all the time. And he was selling some stuff, and he was selling some stuff at some pretty good prices, selling some duplicates and stuff out of his collection. He had some VHS tapes, and I was like, man, I saw the ones I wanted. I'm like, I want on that, everything you got in that picture, I want it. So he's like, yeah, and I'm going to throw in a little bonus for you that's not in the picture. And I was like, cool, so I'm going to show you the last bonus. When I saw it, I was like, oh, that's so awesome. So some of you probably have these, but I've not had these in so long. So like my VHS tapes right now, I basically have Kiss Extreme Close Up and
hmm
Kiss Crazy Nights the video. That's basically
hmm
all I have. I was looking up there. So this first video, I loved it so much when it came out. Me and my friend Scotty Sky, that's on this panel, we wore this VHS tape out, and it was so good, and I cannot wait to watch this again. The
hmm
first thing in the collection that he sent me is Kiss Exposed.
Yes.
Oh,
So
this
good.
so amazing, so
hmm
amazing. And the box is in just great shape. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just so good. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that's the first thing I got. The second thing I got is a little later on, and I have never honestly seen this. I've never seen it. So I'm really looking forward to watching this, and that is Kiss Confidential. And I'm
Oh,
like, people are
yeah.
like, what? You've never seen it? Never seen this.
hmm
So I kind of checked out a little bit when this version of Kiss came along.
Uh-huh.
Checked out a little bit, but I really hate that I did because I missed a really good version of Kiss. Um, but I did come back for the tail end of Hot in the Shade, Revenge, and Carnival of Souls. And that
Mhm.
right there was my favorite era right there. Other than the original era, that was my favorite post makeup era was this band
Mhm.
making Revenge and Carnival of Souls. I really love that. So looking forward to this. So now we go a little further, and I bought one of these in a record store, but I only had one. I only had this one, which Andy sent me both because he didn't want to break up the set. So
Mhm.
I only had this one, but I didn't have this one, and I think I've got them backwards. I do.
Yeah.
I do. I've got them. I've got both of them now. So I've seen this. I've seen it. I've watched it on YouTube. I've never watched it on the actual tapes. So I'm looking forward to this. I love how it's a double cassette and it makes that on the front, and then it
Yeah.
even makes a picture on the back. You know, sometimes Kiss their marketing, they get it right.
Yeah.
And what he sent me along as a bonus with that is this, the book that actually goes along with it. And I'd never seen this book. He's like, yeah, I'm going to see if I can dig the book out for you and find it. And I was kind of skimming through this book, and I think I'm going to eventually make a video of this book. And I think
Uh-huh.
it's going to be story time within my head. And I'm going to start off and I'm going to read it, and I'm going to read it in my best story time narrator voice. And I'm going to throw in all my comments, good and bad.
Yeah.
Because just as I was reading through this, I was like, oh, jeez. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's definitely going to be a story time in my head, story time video coming about this book. So just so
Awesome.
you know, just so you know. So that's all I've got. So for that, so let's talk about the solo albums.
Yeah.
So solo albums for me, a magical, magical time. I was 9 when the solo albums came out. I'd been a Kiss fan for about a year, a little over a year. Became a Kiss fan in August of '77, and the solo albums to me, the first solo album I listened to, my mom bought all 4 of them for me, and I don't have those originals, and she bought all 4 of them, and I got the bag that it came in, and I remember taking them home, and the first one I listened to was Peter Criss because I was a Peter Criss fan, and
Mhm.
I wanted to hear that, and I was a little disappointed, and I think I didn't know quite how to take it, and I
Right.
don't know if I made it all the way through it because my stepsister was a big Ace Frehley fan, and whenever we dress up at Halloween, I dress up as Peter, she'd dress up as Ace,
Mhm.
and so I think the next one I listened to was Aces, and I was like, oh yeah, this is cool, and
Yeah.
I probably listened to Gene's next because believe it or not, when I was a kid, I wasn't the biggest Paul fan. I thought he was a
Mm.
little over the top, a little showboating. Part of me
Yeah.
still does think
Yeah.
that. Preacher Paul. But
Love Paul.
the solo albums, I remember loving. I think I remember liking something off of every one of them. And as I got older, I put them away for a while, and I probably didn't listen to them for 20 years.
Uh-huh.
And I started listening to them whenever I did my music reviews with my son. And I really have grown to appreciate. I was actually listening to Peter's today on my way home. I was listening to Peter's solo album, and it's just that this time of year, I really dig in deep to these solo albums. They're really heavy on my playlist, along with Dynasty, and you know, and even Kiss Alive 2. Even though Kiss Alive 2 is a summer album, I still kind of put that all that little encapsulation together. And of course, Phantom of the Park, which we've already watched because Halloween's already passed.
Yeah.
But the solo albums, Phantom of the Park, Dynasty, it's just that nice little capsule that I enjoy this time of year. But I can't say enough about the solo albums. I love something about all 4 solo albums, and there's things I dislike about all 4 solo albums. So, what about you? What about your solo album experience?
So for me, I mean, growing up, I had always known about Kiss. And when I started to really get into them, I decided to listen to all the albums chronologically. So I didn't get to the solo albums until it was time for me to get to them. And I do remember those were the ones I was looking forward to most because even before I started really getting into Kiss, I knew those album covers, those iconic album covers. I knew those images, so those were the ones I was excited to listen to most. And it's a roller coaster ride for sure because there's moments that you love each of these albums. There's moments that you're a little confused with each of these albums, but they're memorable. It's a roller coaster ride, but it's just so much fun. And yeah, I think if I had to show somebody one image of Kiss, it would be the four solo album covers just on one poster, and I would say, "This is Kiss. This is the band. Make your assumptions from here." And yeah, I just love them. They're like a little warm blanket for me. I just love them. So yeah.
I remember those posters. I remember the T-shirts and the posters that had all four band members on them, and they were just so awesome. Just kind of like they did on the cover of the album of the box set that they did, where they have all four of them on there, and it's just that's just iconic. And so showing this off a little bit, album dust sleeve there, and then just showing the four albums, these iconic images that we're talking about. I'm just going to show these four albums really quick. And if you want to see exactly what all comes in this thing, because it's posters, merch forms, these things are colored vinyl, and you can go watch my video. I'll put a little link up in the corner or something. But there's jeans, and such an iconic photo or painting. It's just amazing. And John, I do want to try to talk about things I remember. He talked about that blood right there. I mean, he talked about the little trickle of blood coming out of Gene's mouth.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad that they did that. I've seen people redo this and they have his tongue out, and I'm glad they did it. He did it without the tongue out and just had the blood coming out. I really like that a whole lot better, I think, than the tongue. And then Paul's album, so very iconic and so much detail. The jewelry in his little choker, and looks like he's got a little gray in his hair, and you can see the individual hairs. I used to sit and just study these things. You see the individual hair in his thing, in his hair, not in his thing. And there it is. There's the shirt that Carla has on.
Yeah.
And that is this is the album that launched 1,000 million guitarists. And then Peter's album, and I just love this picture of Peter. I think it's just great. The colors and just the white and just the makeup is just so good. You can see his tear ducts, and I mean it's just really great. It's just a really great, and it's the kind of, these albums kind of set their colors for them and everything. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to see more about that box set, you can check out that video link. So let's talk about the panel. Let's talk about you guys. Let's get your names out here, and then let's get into these tracks that we have. All right, so on the panel, we have 50 people on the panel. We have myself, Carla, John B. Good was at the top because he was going to do it with us. And then YouTube, Roger Bennett, Hard Rock Reverie, Super Kiss 1200, Emily Graziano, Trevor Bullock, Future Squash 767, Raven FM, Stephen Jones, Armand 1972, Jeremy Kimona, Toy Bonnie Guide, Jay Reed, Mikkel D, Paul Bertolino, Rick from It's All For You Demon, Sublime 130, Carolina Hard Rock, Jesse Ray, John O, Joel Pegg, Michael Avant, Two Gay Dads, from Twitter, Darren Helliwell, Steve Hardy, Tom Dust, Steve Daywood, Marcus, Vanessa, Deuce, Andy, Tony Rod, Joe Reynolds, Michael Bagford, I Love It Louder, Bill Sharp, Vincent Marone, Kissman, and David King. From Instagram, AJ Zetro 1975, Gary Verman, Justin Churchy, Jay Rucker. From Facebook, Matt Ucci, Bethany Dawn, Richard Buffett, and my boy Scotty Sky. So that puts us at 50 for the panel. So we are going to start off with a little prediction. So who is it that you think that has the album that will win?
I I think it's gonna be Ace. I hear more people talk about that album than any of the others, and I hear people talk more positively about that album than I do any of the others. But I do know that there is a lot of love for Peter's album. I know there's a lot of love for Gene's album, and I think Paul's album. I think a lot of people forget about how great that album is. So Paul might sneak up, but I think according to my list, I think it's gonna be Ace.
All right. I initially started off in that same vein. I didn't think that Gene and Peter had a chance. You always hear the argument going back and forward between Paul and Ace. Paul and Ace. You have your Paul fanboys, your Ace fanboys. You have your Gene and Peter fanboys, but there are not enough of them to get over the Paul and Ace hump.
Yeah, that's
And
more of a cult following. Yeah.
right, so I was looking. I was really leaning towards Ace, but then I started looking at some of the track versus track. I took away Peter and Ace, or Peter and Gene, and just looked at Ace and Paul's albums and looked at track one, track two going down. And I was like, where Ace has strong songs, Paul has strong songs.
Yeah.
And where Ace has weak songs, Paul has what could be considered strong songs.
Yeah.
So I thought that in the track versus track format, that that Paul could possibly win this thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going to win it by much, but I think he possibly could pull it off. So that's why I pick Paul as being the winner of the track versus track. I want to say that I respect all four of these albums because I think all four guys made the album that they wanted to make, and they made the album that was true to them and being true to themselves. And whether it was a Kiss album or not, whether it could be considered a Kiss album or not, I don't think was the point. I think these were solo albums. So we are going to get right into it. We're going to start with track number one. And track number one is Radioactive from Gene's album, I'm Gonna Love You from Peter's album, Tonight You Belong to Me from Paul's album, and Rip It Out from Ace's album. Four really good, strong opening tracks in my opinion.
Yeah.
I like all four of these songs. And this was kind of hard for me to pick, but it wasn't as hard as some of the other ones. But my prediction on this is I predict that the panel is going to choose Rip It Out. What about you?
Yeah, I think they're definitely going to go with Rip It Out on this one. I think Ace is getting the first point in this one.
It's a strong song, super strong song. The drum solo, the riff, just coming out and smacking you in the face from the very beginning. And the other albums, their songs don't quite do that. They eventually grab you, but they don't kind of, I'd say Peter probably starts off the softest. Peter has some rockin' songs on his album, but he didn't. He chose not to start it with one, and so you predict Rip It Out. I predict Rip It Out. So the results are Peter's song I'm Gonna Love You came in at number 4 with 0 votes. Nobody voted for I'm Gonna Love You, and that's sad because I like I'm Gonna Love You. It's one of my favorite songs off that album. Gene came in 3rd with Radioactive with 7 votes. So that's respectable. Out of 50 people, he got 7 votes. Number 2 spot belongs to Paul Stanley with Tonight You Belong to Me with 18 votes. And that leaves with 25 votes, more than half, or at half of the voting. Ace Frehley, number 1 for Rip It Out. So what did you pick for number 1? Where did you fall?
I actually did not go with Ace on this one. I went with Paul. To me, it's such a Paul song. And that's what I really love about it is Gene could not sing this song, Ace could not do this song, Peter could not do this song, but Paul could do this song. And I just out of the four, this one just kind of grabs me the most. Um, as much as I love Ace, I drink the blue Kool-Aid. It just this one for some reason just did not grab me, so I had to go with Paul on this one.
I am 100% in agreement with you. Paul's song "Tonight You Belong to Me" is my pick as well. I love the dynamics. I love how it starts off soft. Paul has done that a lot in other. He did that with "I Want You." It's a different type of song, but it's still the same vein of a song that starts off soft, kicks in. And "Tonight You Belong to Me" is epic. It starts off soft. It has that huge, big ending to it.
Hmm.
And it really sets the stage for what Paul is going to do on his album.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think all of these songs, these opening songs, all four members chose a song that's like, okay, this may not be the entirety of what we're going to do on this album, but this is peeling this is peeling the wrapper back a little, quite a bit to let you see. Because I remember listening to Peter's album, and although I love "I'm Gonna Love You," it wasn't the type of song I was expecting.
Right.
But all these songs give you a good idea of what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So that starts off Ace out of the gate with 1 point. So that brings us to track number 2, "Burning Up with Fever" for Gene, "You Matter to Me" for Peter, "Move On" for Paul, and "Speeding Back to My Baby" for Ace. What's your prediction?
I think Ace is going to continue with this one. I think the panel went with Speeding Back to My Baby.
Okay. On my predictions, I kind of tried to give the other two members, other than Ace and Paul, a chance. And so I tried to be there, yeah, I think you can win this one.
Right.
So I have a couple picks that are kind of out in left field, and this is my first one. My prediction for number 2 is I was predicting that possibly, the panel may choose "You Matter to Me" from Peter. It was a single, so I thought maybe they'll choose it.
Yeah.
But it didn't come in first, but it didn't come in last either. So what actually came in last was Gene's song "Burning Up with Fever." Only had 2 votes. And I actually like "Burning Up with Fever." I think that's a good song. What came in third was "You Matter to Me." So it actually at least came in third. It came in third with 8 votes. "Move On" came in second with 14 votes. And with 26 votes, Ace has won another first place with "Speeding Back to My Baby." And don't turn the video off yet, because it's not Ace all the way down. It's the Ace fanboys did not win this one all the way down.
No, we
So
did not.
so don't turn it off yet. Stay with us. Stay with us. But so Ace wins this one. My pick for this one was "Speeding Back to My Baby." I love "Speeding Back to My Baby." I think it's a great song. I love the riff, and I love that rockabilly dun 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 dun. When he's singing, I think it's a great song. The backwards guitar solo, the drums sound so good on it. Ace's
Yeah.
album just sounds so good. Eddie Kramer, Anton Fig, Ace, and Will Lee. A couple, he just basically made an album with his best friends, and
Yeah.
stayed in this big, huge mansion in Connecticut while they were doing it. And look it up on Google. It's called The Mansion. And they stayed in this big, huge mansion. They recorded Anton Fig's drums on the first rising of the master staircase. And
Hmm.
they did so much experimental stuff. Ace put his guitar amps in fireplaces, and they recorded with carpets down on the floors, carpets up off the floors. They did so much experimentation, and all of them did. All of them did experimentation, especially Ace and Paul experimented a lot.
Yeah.
But this is a song for me that, to me, I think I don't hate any of these songs. The one I like the least is probably "Move On." I'm not a fan of "Move On" at all.
Hmm.
Um, But this one was kind of, and I'm not a big fan of "You Matter to Me." I know Rick, he loves that AM, that synthesizer, wee doo doo, and I'm just, as soon as that starts, I'm like, you know, Peter, you didn't have to put a synthesizer and saxophones and horns in every song. You didn't have to. But this is kind of track two. Even Ace, Speeding Back to My Baby, it's not one of the strongest tracks on his album, in my
Right.
opinion. And
I
so,
agree.
so track two is kind of, I was just like, I'll pick
Yeah.
the best of these. And
Right.
so it turned out being Speeding Back to My Baby.
Yeah.
So what'd you pick for your second?
So I am one of the two that picked Burning Up with Fever
Nice.
for this one for Gene. I love this song so much. I love every single thing about it. I love that Donna Summer's on it. I love everything. I mean, to me, this is such a Gene Kiss song. Um,
Rock and
I
roll
cannot
over had a rock and roll over feel maybe.
100%. And I can't believe only two of us picked this one. But so yeah, I mean, that's proof right there that Ace is not going to win all of these because I'm an Ace fanboy or fangirl and I haven't picked Ace yet. So it's going to get real interesting.
I was listening to Gene's album the other day at work, and it was the day before the elections, and we were working on getting election machines out, and I was listening to this album, and I had a visual go across my head, and it was just like Gene's album sounds like the soundtrack to a porn, and I can just imagine him having all these background singers and all these musicians in the studio naked. He's like,
It very well it could have happened for sure.
you
No,
know,
Gene.
just all of them in there naked. It's like, okay, leave your clothes and your inhibitions at the door. We're going to make music. You know?
Yeah. Well, seeing as that he dated all of the backup singers, Donna Summer, Katie Seagal, Cher, I mean, it probably happened. You're right.
So it's just like, I was just sitting here going, man, his music, I'm like, what does his music sound like? What does his music? Porn music. Sounds like porn music. And Burning Up with Fever, could you, that riff, that
Oh, for sure.
guy taking his clothes off. Hey, I'm
Yeah.
here to fix your pipes. You know, it's like,
It's that 70s porn staple. Exactly. Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
All right. So Ace is 1-2
Yep.
out the gate. Stick with us.
Yep.
So track three is See You Tonight from Gene. Love that song.
Yep.
Tossing and Turning from Peter. Love that song. A lot of people ain't a fan. I freaking love Tossing and Turning. Ain't Quite Right from Paul. How to, he did those first two songs and then it's like he throws in a song like Ain't Quite Right. It's like a change up.
Yeah.
It's great. And Snowblind from Ace. I mean, this was tough for
Yeah.
me. This was
Yeah.
tough.
Me too.
But my prediction is, once again, I wanted to give Peter and Gene some love. So I predicted that the panel would choose See You Tonight.
I also went with that. I think Gene's going to take it for this one for sure.
So, I mean, you never know. So, you never know. I mean, there's hoping. All right. So, here's the way this one played out. Everybody got a vote. Peter came in fourth, Tossing and Turning, got 3 votes.
More than Burning Up with Fever.
Yeah, more than. And honestly, I think that song should have got more votes. It's a better song than 3 votes. See You Tonight, surprisingly, did not come in third. See, I tricked you.
Yeah.
With 4 votes, just 1 vote above Tossing and Turning, Paul Ain't Quite Right come in with 4 votes at number 3, and that shocked me.
Yeah, me too.
Ace pun. That shocked me that that Ain't Quite Right came in so low.
Yeah.
So that makes See You Tonight come in at second with 19 votes. 19 votes for See You Tonight. And But with 24, almost half of the vote, Ace grabs another one with Snowblind. And in my opinion, this was hard for me to pick. But when I actually sat down and kind of started picking them off, and I was like, "No, it ain't. That one ain't gonna be my pick. That one ain't gonna be my pick." I got down to in between uh, "Ain't Quite Right" and "Snowblind" because "Ain't Quite Right" such a dynamic song and so very introspective, and it has that amazing solo in it by Bob Kulick, who made Paul's album what it is, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
There's two people, there's albums would not have been where they were without them. Aces wouldn't have been hit the same album without Anton Fig.
Right.
And Paul's album wouldn't have been the same album without Bruce Kulick or Bob
Yeah.
Kulick. So, but I sat and I listened to him and I was like, I got to go with Snowblind because I love that riff. That riff is so nasty. And the
Mm-hmm.
drums, that snare at the very beginning, it sounds like you're getting smacked in the face. And
Right.
Anton just bangs the hell out of the drums on this album. And
Yeah.
that double time solo, man, there's two songs on this album. He does that double time solo.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, and I'm in need of love. And they're so awesome. I requested Tom Dust on Twitter to do both of them for me, and he did. Shout out to my boy Tom Dust on Twitter. If you don't follow him, you need to be following him. He does some amazing Kiss riffs. So shout out to my boy across the pond, Tom Dust, for those that he's done for me. And but yes, Snowblind for me, man. It's just for that solo along.
Yeah.
So what about you?
So, like you, it was down to two for me. My two were "See You Tonight" and "Snowblind," and I love the music more in "See You Tonight" because it's that Beatles-esque. This is where we start to hear the Beatles influence with Gene, and we start to kind of go off a little bit with Gene. I remember this was the song on his album where I went, this is Gene's solo album? Like this, okay. But I like the lyrics more with Snowblind, so I really had to, do I like the music more or the lyrics more? And it honestly came down to music for me. So I went with Gene on this one. Maybe you know the answer. Maybe somebody in the comments knows the answer. I've heard that this song is about him trying to find a condom. That's the only logical explanation I can think of, or else this song just makes no sense at all. But it's Gene, so I mean, you gotta love that, right? So I went with "See You Tonight."
Yeah, he's never really said what it is, but it does make sense. It's a condom because he says, "I'll see you to get it. I'll see you get it tonight, and if I can't, I'll cry." And I think the only thing that would make Gene cry is that he's losing money or he's not getting laid.
Right.
so, so
Yeah.
yeah, I think it would be a condom. If somebody knows what that is, if it's not a condom, or if they have any other theories, that'd be really
Yeah.
cool to hear.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
See You Tonight is great from Gene. Like I said, I love all these. Tossing and Turning. Man, Tossing and Turning, if you can get back the doot, 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 if you can get past those background singers, which I love the doot, 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 doots. I love them.
Right.
But Tossing and Turning just sounds so great. You hear that fire in Peter and his voice, and just
Yeah.
whenever he's coming out towards the end and he's like doing that, the clock downstairs was striking three, and he does that little fill there that's a little more complicated than you think it is. And to do that while you're playing too, and this is a song they did on the Dynasty tour, which didn't fit quite right. Plus, they sped it up too much. It's got to have that
Right.
groove to it.
Yeah.
Kiss and most bands are horrible about speeding songs up live, and I really hate that because some songs, if you speed them up, you lose the groove, you lose the feeling, and I
Right.
really hate that when they do that. But See You Tonight, yeah, Beatles, Gene, and it's some of the coming off some of the stuff that we'd heard all the way back to Hotter Than Hell with and some of the early songs, Going Blind, and then some of the songs we heard on Destroyer. So it's Gene. It's that part of Gene that I think really truly is a part of him. If he's not influenced by an outsider like Paul or somebody else, Gene has a tendency to write songs like "See You Tonight," and just great songs, great songs.
Oh yeah.
But that puts Ace at 3 right now. So Ace 3. Everybody, everybody else nobody. Everybody else nothing. Nobody nothing.
No.
All right. So that brings us to number 4. Track number 4, we got Tunnel of Love for Gene. Great
Mhm.
song. Don't You Let Me Down from Peter's album, which is amazing song I love so much. Wouldn't You Like to Know Me from Paul, which I know is a favorite among a lot of people, and Ozone from Ace. Track 4. Four very strong track fours in my opinion.
Yeah.
Gene's possibly being the weakest, but we'll see what it plays out. My prediction on this one is that I think Paul is going to grab his first one commandingly and he's going to win with Wouldn't You Like to Know Me, because it's such a strong song and it's such a Paul song and a Kiss song. This is a, without being changed at all, could have been
Yeah.
on a Kiss album.
Yeah.
So it is a Kiss song.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What's your prediction?
Yeah, my thoughts 100%. I think it's going to be Paul on this one. It's a fan favorite. It's a Kiss song. I don't know how it couldn't win, to be honest. So I think it's going to be Paul.
All right. So the panel did not like Gene's song. They did not like Tunnel of Love. It didn't get any love. It laid a goose egg.
Oh,
Tunnel of Love, which I think Tunnel of Love is better than that. One or two votes would have been acceptable, but no votes on that. Uh, Peter came in second with Don't You, or came in third with Don't You Let Me Down. 8 votes for Don't You Let Me Down, which I think is very respectable for that song.
yeah, that's
Uh,
great.
you know, Peter showing more of that soft, slow song, and I just think I love Peter's voice on Don't You Let Me Down.
Yeah.
Especially the part that grabs me every time is later in the song when he says, it sure took hard times to bring me down. And just the way he sings it, it's just like, oh, that is so great. That is so Peter.
Yeah.
But yeah, Peter really showing a soft side that a lot of people didn't really like, but I love it.
Hmm.
But it came in at third with 8 points. Number 2 is not a Paul song. Number 2 is Ozone from Ace with 11 votes. Now get this. This is the highest scoring song so far on the panel. 31 points. Paul with Wouldn't You Like to Know Me at number 1 for this track. And that is commanding to me. Blew Ace's song away by 20 points.
Yeah.
My personal pick, though, I love Wouldn't You Like to Know Me? But to me, it's like, okay, I've heard that Paul. I've heard that Paul on 6 albums before this one. I
Hmm.
like what I'm hearing on this album from Paul that I haven't heard on previous albums.
Yeah.
Songs like Ain't Quite Right and stuff like
Right.
that. So this one, I kind of, even though I don't disrespect it at all, it is a great song. All these songs to me are great on this particular track. But on me on this one, I had to go with Ozone. Ozone is it's just great. It's
Yeah.
just it is that bluesy da na na da na 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 na. It's just so great. That long intro. This song is just a ride, and I love every bit of it.
Hmm.
So my pick on this one is Ozone. I didn't go with the panel on this one. Ozone for me. What about for you?
Yeah, I didn't go with the panel either. It's 100% Ozone for me. This song is like air. Like I need this song to live. I love this song so much. Um, I love everything about it. I love Ace's vocal. I love the guitar. I love I love everything. And I don't really know what ozone is. I'm gonna assume it's drugs of some kind. Um, and I mean it. Of course, I mean it's Ace, and he's pretty much saying like in the song like I like to get high. I do it all the time. Like so, I mean that's got to be what ozone is. But I just love it. It's so cool. And for me, I didn't pick an Ace song for the first 3 tracks. And I remember the first time I heard this album, I was getting through the first 3 tracks and I went, come on, Ace, give me something because you're my favorite. Like, give me something. And then he gave me Ozone. And then I was like, well, that's it. Favorite solo album now because of Ozone alone. So, yeah, it's definitely Ozone for me.
It's a great song. It's such a fun song. You can tell he knows he has his issues. I mean, even to this day, I think it's funny that people always like you see old pictures of Ace and everybody's like, he was drunk, and it's like, but how do you know he was drunk? Just because he was laughing or being silly? Because that's just Ace. He is a very fun-filled, fun-loving guy, and he has that infectious laugh. Just watch the Tom Schneider video, and if you don't laugh when Ace laughs or when he says his jokes, talking about I got a piece of pipe, or whatever. I'm actually a plumber. I'm a trout player. He has such a wit to him that nobody else in the band possesses. Gene tries to be funny, but he's comes off like me telling dad jokes.
Yeah.
And Paul's just Paul don't try to be funny. Peter's just too busy trying to be cool. But Ace, he's just a fun-loving guy, and he's just his laugh is infectious. And he on this song, he's ozone. I'm the kind of guy who likes getting high. I mean, that's the opening lines. And when you have a song that starts like that, you're like you said, it's like, okay, I'm going to enjoy this because he's just going to have a good time. So yeah, ozone for me.
I think that's part of the beauty of these solo albums is not only did they get to play how they wanted to play, but they got to write how they wanted to write. And Ace couldn't write a song like that and have Gene play bass on it or have Paul sing backup. That's not what they were about. They weren't about to do that. But on the solo albums, he was able to do that. And I think that's part of the beauty of these is they really got to do what they wanted. And it didn't matter how the other band members felt because they weren't on it. So I think that's another reason why these are just so special for hardcore Kiss fans. You know the history, so I think they're really cool for that reason too.
Right, yeah. And the original idea, what they were going to do, and I'm glad that they didn't do it. But the original idea is they was going to make 4 solo albums, and everybody in the band was going to play on all 4 solo albums. It's just the songs would have been sang by that person that it was their solo album.
Right.
And I'm so glad they didn't do that. One, it would have took them forever to record 40 songs.
Yeah.
Right at 40 songs. It would have took them forever to do it. And they would have all sounded the same. So I love that they did it the way that they did.
Yeah.
Plus, I think they needed the break from each other. So it was probably a good thing. Yeah. All right. So that brings us down to track number 5. And that's True Confessions for Gene. That's the kind of sugar Papa likes for Peter. Take Me Away Together is one. And What's on Your Mind from Ace. So what is your prediction?
I think this is going to be another one for Paul. I think the panel's going to go with Take Me Away Together as one.
Okay. I agree. Such an epic song. It deserves to win. To me, hands down, and I'm going to make a very unpopular statement, and a lot of you can throw your remote at your TV. Just don't break your new TV or whatever. And keep watching the video, because I like getting the watch hours. But to me, if somebody was to walk in my door right now and say, you can't have any of the solo albums, out of the solo albums, you can't even keep an album. You can only keep one song off of all 4 albums. Take Me Away Together is one. Not even a thought. Not even a thought.
Wow.
Take Me Away Together is one. I would not want to lose that song because to me it's a masterpiece. It's a Paul Stanley construction masterpiece. Definitely heavily influenced by Jeff Glicksman, who worked with Kansas and worked with Paul on a few of his songs before Paul decided he wanted to do it himself and did a very good job with the rest of the album. But Take Me Away Together is one would have not been the song it is had it not been for Jeff Glicksman. So you got to give credit where credit's due. So that's what we think. So what do you guys think? Number 4 goes to Gene, True Confessions. 4 votes for True Confessions, which I think it's a fun song. It sounds like he's got the big naked background singers and everybody's just singing their hearts out and the sweet, sweet True Confessions. It's got Katie Seagal on it, and it's such a good song. Came in 4 votes. With 6 votes at number 3, That's the Kind of Sugar Papa Likes. And that's probably my least favorite track of these tracks. That's probably my least favorite. It just it's in a weird key, and the notes are all minor and diminished, and it's just, I don't know. And plus, it's got those background singers that go, drive me crazy, and they drive me crazy. So
Right.
I'm not a big fan of That's the Kind of Sugar Papa Likes. Coming in at number 2 with 18 points, What's on Your Mind from Ace. In my opinion, and it's probably unpopular opinion, in my opinion, What's on Your Mind, one of the weaker tracks on Ace's album. I kind of put it right there with Speeding Back to My Baby, but I like it better than Speeding Back to My Baby. I love that he's got the acoustic guitar in there, and I like the way he layers his guitars. But it never really grabs me. It doesn't grab me like some of the songs on his album does. So it kind of falls in the Speeding Back to My Baby bin.
Right.
And so that leaves with 22 votes. Take Me Away, Together as One snags the number 1 spot, and well deserved. A Paul Stanley masterpiece. And if you've never really listened to it or given it a chance, you really should. You really should. It is a great, great, great song. So that goes without saying that my pick for this one is Take Me Away Together as One. So what is your pick?
I don't know. I should be asking what's on your mind when I wrote this for myself, because I don't know why I chose Ace. I definitely should have chosen Paul, but I think I just, there's something about Aces. It just it that song I could imagine him putting on any of his solo albums, and I think that's why I really like it, because it's a true Ace song. It's a timeless Ace song in my opinion, and it's just, I guess at the time when I was writing this, I was like really into that, and I thought that was really cool. But if I made the list today, I definitely would have chosen Paul's. So
I think What's on Your Mind could have been on Dynasty.
Oh, for sure.
I think it could have. It had not got used on his solo album. It could have been on Dynasty. That's just my thought. Then that's the thing about it, is opinions can change. It's funny whenever I'm going down through these lists, and you see on almost every single one of them, I see the little caption, edited, where people have come back and changed their lists. And I've been guilty of that myself too. All right, so that brings us to track number 6. So for this one, we have Living in Sin, the notorious Living in Sin at the Holiday Inn. And then Easy Thing from Peter. It's All Right, another Kiss song from Paul.
Yeah.
And New York Groove, the smash hit from Ace's album. Excuse me, I'm drinking beer from Ace's album. Like Ace.
Yeah.
So what is your prediction on this one?
I think the panel is going to go back to Ace with this one. I think they're going to choose New York Groove.
Okay. Me too. I mean, it's New York Groove, and I'm not a fan of New York Groove. I think it's just kind of droning, and I think Ace can do better.
Yeah.
New York Groove, though, I'm not a fan. It's all right. I think it's great, and even though this is like, oh yeah, Paul's doing his Kiss thing. He's doing his Kiss thing very good. That very beginning, oh yeah. I'm pretty good at taking care of myself. I mean, that tone that he's singing in, that kind of yelling, kind of real forceful singing. I love that from Paul.
Yeah.
Living in Sin, I think, is great. It's such a fun song.
Yeah.
And then Easy Thing, probably the softest song on Peter's album. Probably one of the more hated songs on Peter's album, but to me, so great. This came on today just before I got home, and it's one that, you ever had a song, and I know we all have, you're on your way home or you're on your way to a destination and you get there and the song's not over yet, and you sit in your damn car until the song finishes. Even if you've got it on your phone and you can start it over, you let it finish. You let the song finish. That was Easy Thing for me today. I sat in my driveway, and from like the middle of the song to the end, I let it finish. But what did the panel choose? With No votes. Another goose egg for Gene. Living in Sin. No votes. What's wrong with you people?
Yeah, that's
Just
shocking.
just 1 or 2 votes.
Right.
I mean, it's Living in Sin. I mean, come on. I know it's
Yeah.
got some stiff competition, but
Right.
still.
You want a Gene title. I mean,
I mean, Living in Sin at number 4 with 0. At number 3 with 6 points is Easy Thing. And I love Easy Thing. I cannot say enough about it. I just think it's so great. And, if you've ever had your heart broken, listen to Easy Thing because love is such an easy thing to lose. I mean, it's a great song. Coming in at number 2 with 15 points, Not a Paul Song. Ace with New York Groove come in at number 2. So with 29 points, another very commanding victory. 29 points at number 1 is Paul's It's Alright. It's Alright If You Want Me. So it's a great song. I can't say enough about for that, And John, I wanted to point out, he pointed out it does not have a guitar solo. It's one of those songs that's so good it don't need a solo, and he compared it to Rock and Roll All Night, the original version of Rock and Roll All Night,
yeah.
and that's just good songwriting. I mean, that's a sturdy Paul Stanley construction song. It's all right. So, but for me, my personal pick, man, I gotta go with Easy Thing. Easy Thing is hands down my favorite song. I'd choose it over It's Alright any day. It's hands down my favorite song when it comes to that track. So what about you?
For me, hands down, I had to go with New York Groove. I love everything about it. And one of my favorite quotes of all time is, good artists copy, great artists steal. And basically what that means is a good artist can take something that's not theirs. They can do a good job at making it their own, but you definitely see the original influence. You see the original person's artwork. But when great artists steal, they take something that isn't theirs and they make it theirs so much that you forget it's not originally theirs. And that's New York Groove for me. I always forget this is a cover because Ace just really made this his own and he ran with this. And it's a little disco-y. It's not as much of a rock song as you would expect from Ace, but he still made it his own and he made it cool, and I love it. It's cheesy. It's definitely of the time, but I love everything about it.
My boy Scotty Sky, who I introduced to Kiss, it's so funny. We would back when we were young and partying and stuff, we'd start getting a little drunk, and he'd be over in a corner, or he'd walk into a room, and he'd go out of nowhere. Here I am in the big city with a fistful of dollars.
Yeah.
That's just so great. Every time I hear New York Groove, I think about him, and I just smile about all the crazy stuff that we did when we were kids. But It's Alright wins that one. So, all right, that brings us to track number 7. For Gene, Always Near You, Nowhere to Hide. For Peter, Rock Me Baby. For Paul, Hold Me, Touch Me. And for Ace, I'm in Need of Love. What's your prediction?
I think the panel is going to go to Ace with this one. I think they're going to choose I'm in Need of Love.
Okay. I did another out of left field, and I went with Gene on this one. Always Near You, Nowhere to Hide. I think that is a great song, and I know that this is another one of those where I kind of all the way across, I'm like, these are okay songs, but there's not really there is a standout that I like. I'm really big fans of Always Near You, and I'm really big fan of I'm in Need of Love. Hold Me, Touch Me. If you've watched my channel, you know that I hate that song. The only good part about that song is I say there's 2 good things about that song. The solo that Paul does and does an amazing job, and the end that comes right after the solo. It's 2 best parts of that song. Rock Me Baby, I'm not a big fan of at all. The piano and baby who you've been loving since your man's gone, and he just keeps repeating it over and over and over, and then you get the saxophones that comes in, and I'm just like, not a big fan of that one.
Right.
So Rock Me Baby came in at number 4 with 4 votes.
Hey,
With 4 votes. I mean,
not bad.
yeah. With 7 points at number 3, Always Near You, Nowhere to Hide.
Mm-hmm.
At 11 points at number 2, Hold Me, Touch Me. And with 28 points at number 1, I'm in Need of Love. And I'm in Need of Love is my favorite track when it comes to this one. It's the one I picked. And it's the drums, once again, sound like he's cracking the sticks upside your head.
Yeah.
The riff is so cool. The bass is so cool, played by Mr. Will Lee, who also, him and Anton Fig played on David Letterman's band for the longest time. And that double time solo is just so awesome. The weakest part about this song to me is kind of the lyrics. It's like he wrote them at the last minute. He wrote a song and came up with music, and it's like, oh shit, I need lyrics. I want some love, so give me some. I need some love, so give me some. It's like, but I do love when he says, it's just that devil in me. I love that line.
Yeah.
I just love that line.
Yeah.
It's almost like Ace is like, hey, I know, guys. I know I like to get high. I know I like to get drunk. I know that I like to party too much, and I know I got a devil on my shoulder. I know these things. Y'all ain't telling me. I don't need therapy. Y'all ain't telling me something I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, for me, I'm in Need of Love. I agree with the panel on that one. That was a great song.
Yeah. That's what I went with as well. For me, Ace's album, I only need like 4 or 5 songs off this album. That's all I need for it to be a masterpiece, in my opinion. And this is one of those songs. I love everything about it. It gets a little spacey at times, which is great because, with Ace, it gets a little spacey, gets a little out there. I think this is his fun side, his charming side. He's just kind of, hey, this is who I am, take it or leave it kind of thing. Yeah, I just think this is a really fun song for Ace. He's not trying to be this like macho guy. He's just being Ace, and I think you have to love him for that. So, yeah, definitely I had to go with I'm in Need of Love for this one.
Awesome. All right, so that brings us to number 8. Track number 8 for Gene, Man of a Thousand Faces, which I think is a very great song for Gene. It's a very autobiographical song for Gene. For Peter, Kiss the Girl Goodbye, another slow song, kind of like Easy Thing. Great song. He's got some really good vocal in that song when he does that. We've been apart so many times before. That's awesome. That is awesome. Love in Chains from Paul and Wiped Out from Ace. Pretty, to me, this was like, this could be a toss-up here. So what I went with, though, is I thought, there's a possibility that people are going to choose Wiped Out on this one just because it's Ace. And I kind of sided with the fanboys a little bit on this one. And so my prediction was Wiped Out.
I think people are going to go back to Paul on this one. I think the panel's going to choose Love in Chains.
All right. So, with 4 points at number 4, Kiss the Girl Goodbye from Peter, which I think is a great song. It's a soft song, and a lot of people, like I said, like Easy Thing and You Matter to Me and Tossing and Turning and 8 songs out of Peter's album. They don't really dig it. What's kind of funny is one of their favorite songs on this album is also a slow song, so I don't get it. I don't understand the rationale when it comes to that. Yeah. But at number 3 with 5 votes is Gene's Man of a Thousand Faces. And this song does not get enough love. Man of a Thousand Faces is an if you listen to the words, for years I lived inside my dreams, and he just had this. I mean, it's about Lon Chaney, in his looking up to these larger than life horror figures and super heroes that he saw in his comics, and
Hmm.
coming to America, not being able to speak, learning to speak English, watching TV. He
Right.
really truly has the American success story that, with enough hard work, patience, and diligence and self restraint, because Gene, when it comes to at least money, he is probably one of the more self restraint people. He's not really so much self restraint when it comes to women and other things, and he's actually a quite conservative guy. I think he's become more conservative as he got older, but
Yeah.
he's quite conservative to be the person that he is.
Hmm.
But this song just not does not get enough love, you know.
And I'm surprised because it's another Beatles-esque song, and people love "See You Tonight" so much. So I'm surprised that it doesn't get the love that I think it should, and you think it should.
Hmm. And so at number 2 with 15 points, it's not a Paul song. It is "Wiped Out" from Ace is number 2. And you know, I can see that song in retrospect not being number 1. It's one of those songs that everybody seems to love, and the only part I really like about "Wiped Out" is I don't like the drums at the beginning, believe it or not. I'm not a big fan of the verses, but I freaking love the chorus. That
Yeah.
old school Kiss, that heavy metal. I was wiped out, wiped out, wiped out. I love that. That is like the price of admission on "Wiped Out" for me. But it's not my favorite of these songs. It's not the panel's favorite either, because they chose with 26 points, more than half, "Love in Chains" at number 1. And "Love in Chains" is one of those songs I'm not really the biggest fan of. Some people, they freaking, apparently the panel freaking loves "Love in Chains."
Right.
Me, I'm not so much. My favorite out of all these, believe it or not, is "Man of a Thousand Faces." I
Yep.
love Gene's song the best when it
Hmm.
comes to these tracks. So "Man of a Thousand Faces" is my pick. So what about you?
Yeah, this was another one that I kept going back and forth on, and I just could not make up my mind on this. And looking at my list now, this is, if I had to do it today, this is not the one I would have chosen. I personally chose "Love in Chains." To me, it's such a Kiss song. I could hear
Hmm.
this song on a few different Kiss albums for sure. I went back and forth so many times between this and "Kiss the Girl Goodbye." I love that song. I think it is so
Hmm.
beautiful. Peter does such an amazing job on it. I think the reason why it doesn't get a lot of love is because it's basically Beth Part 2.
Hmm.
And I know a lot of people have strong feelings about Beth, so they would probably have the same feelings about this. And I think the reason why this song wasn't promoted, and maybe Easy Thing was a little bit more, was because maybe Paul and Gene didn't want Beth Part 2.
Hmm.
They didn't want another Peter solo where he's holding a rose in concert. And, maybe for their own jealous reasons, they didn't want the girls to swoon over him, or maybe they were just like, no, this is not our sound. But
Hmm.
"Kiss the Girl Goodbye" does not get the love it deserves. But I personally went with "Love in Chains."
The "Kiss the Girl Goodbye" is basically him and Stan Pendridge. I mean, Stan's playing guitar,
Hmm.
Peter's singing.
Hmm.
There's a couple little hi hat little closers in there,
Right.
but it is a very stripped down song, and Peter does such a great job on it. Um,
Wonderful.
okay, so that brings us to number 9, the last track on Ace's and Paul's album. So they won't be competing in track 10 or track 11. So this is the last opportunity for Ace or Paul to score a track.
Hmm.
For Gene, we have "Mr. Make Believe," which is basically "Man of a Thousand Faces" Part 2. I love "Mr. Make Believe."
Hmm.
Um, Another very Beatlesque song. Actually has singers from Beatlemania in it. For Peter, "Hooked on Rock and Roll." Um, Another one of those songs. I just it I don't know. I like it better than "Rock Me Baby," and I like it better than that's the kind of sugar Papa likes, but I don't like it better than songs like Tossing and Turning or other stuff.
Right.
For Paul, it's Goodbye, and the one he wrote, the story where he wrote it in the cafe down the block from the recording studio because he was short a song,
Yep.
and so he had to write an extra song, and he popped that one out real quick.
Hmm.
And then Ace's song that launched a million guitarists, Fractured Mirror, the instrumental, the epic instrumental. Totally experimental. Totally, if you like instrumentals, amazing. I'm not a big fan of instrumentals, but it's a song that is very well liked. So I'm curious to see how it's going to do. Me, as far as my prediction on this one, I thought that it's not my favorite song, but I thought that the panel on this one was going to choose Goodbye, just because I've always heard how big of fans Kiss fans are about that song, and I've never really got it. I've never really understood it, but apparently they really are. So I was just thinking Goodbye. I was going with a safe one.
Right. I think the panel's gonna go with Gene on this one. I think Mr. Make Believe is what the panel went with.
All right. So, with 6 points, the song that come in at number 4 is Peter's song, Hooked on Rock and Roll. It amazed me that it got 6 points. Kind of blew my mind here.
Hmm.
Um, at number 3 with 9 points, believe it or not, the lowest a Paul or Ace song falls. Number 3 with 9 points, Fractured Mirror from Ace. Apparently, other people don't like instrumentals. Um, and this made me so happy. This made me so happy when I saw the results. I just grinned. 13 points at number 2, Mr. Make Believe, the highest that Gene got. Number 2, and with the most votes, except for the last 2 songs, which you can't really count.
Right.
Going up against the other albums, Gene got 13 votes on this Mr. Make Believe at number 2. And I'm going to come back to that after I talk about the number 1 song with 21 votes at number 1, Goodbye from Paul. And I don't get that. I just don't get it. Me personally, my pick on this, hands down, Mr. Make Believe. Hands down. I love Mr. Make Believe. If Gene cut himself open and exposed himself to the world on maybe only one other song, but mostly on this one because this is a song that he actually wrote. The other song he didn't write. But
Right.
if he himself as a writer
Hmm.
opened himself up in a very intimate and personal way, he did it with Mr. Make Believe.
Yeah.
It is who he is. He Gene is the man of a thousand faces, but while he's being that, he is Mr. Make Believe. He's make believing to be the demon and make believing to be, you know, even I think Gene Simmons himself,
Right.
without his makeup, is a persona. I think,
Oh,
and, and,
100%.
and you can't go by Family Jewels, which me and Emily Graziano are going to be doing some videos on soon as a little preview for that. So be on the
Oh,
lookout for
love
those.
that. Can't wait.
Emily's a huge fan of Family Jewels. I'm a huge fan of Family Jewels. So we're going to get together and we're going to talk about some of our favorite episodes, some of our favorite moments, and we're going to have a good time doing that. She's so fun to do stuff with. So looking forward to that. But even Gene on Family Jewels, that was scripted. He was still
Yeah.
playing the Gene shtick. I would love to see Gene when nobody knows that he's watching.
Hmm.
Because I bet he would just be the biggest nerd. He'd be
Yeah.
laying in his bed, eating cookies or cake,
Yeah.
reading a comic book,
Hmm.
and with his glasses down on his nose. And he would just be he'd be like the grandpa that lives next door.
Right.
And because, like I said, even Gene Simmons is a shtick. It is persona.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, Mr. Make Believe to me is my favorite song. It's probably my favorite song on Gene's album.
Hmm.
And So yeah, so it's Mr. Make Believe for me.
Well, for me, I had to close out Ace's album by picking an Ace song, um, and I went with Fractured Mirror. I just love Fractured Mirror, and I love it so much more because he continued it into his solo career after he left Kiss. I love that he didn't push that part of his life aside. You know, so many artists, when they break off and they go off into a solo career, they want you to forget about that era. They want you to forget about that and be like, no, here's me now. And I love that he continued that into his solo career. And it all started with this one. This is
Mm-hmm.
the original. So I had to go with Fractured Mirror on this one.
All right. So that brings us to track number 10, and there's only two competitors for track number 10. See You in Your Dreams from Gene, the remake of the song from Rock and Roll Over.
Mm-hmm.
And I Can't Stop the Rain, the epic last track off of Peter's album. So, what is your prediction for these two?
I think this is where Peter is going to shine, and he's going to get a pick for this one. I think without a doubt the panel went with I Can't Stop the Rain.
Okay. I also picked for this one. I also predicted that the panel was going to choose "I Can't Stop the Rain" because everybody loves. I don't know people who don't like "I Can't Stop the Rain."
Mm-hmm.
It's one of their favorite tracks, and probably the one track that a lot of people know off of Peter's album.
Right.
And it's so great. So I predicted that as well. At number 2 with 15 points is Gene, See You in Your Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Unpopular opinion, I actually like this version of See You in Your Dreams better than the Rock and Roll Over version. That's
Me
just
too.
that's just my opinion.
Yep.
I think it's Gene doing it the way he wanted to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And that just goes to show you the influence. Even if you're in a band and you're lead singing the song and you wrote it, the other members of the band, they're not a silent minority. They're a silent majority, and they still influence the overall finished sound of that song.
Oh yeah.
And that
Yeah.
just goes to show you with a song like "See You in Your Dreams."
Mm-hmm.
35 points. Number 1, I Can't Stop the Rain from Peter. And you can't say too much about this song. All the way from "This is New York, yo," the very beginning. I used to love that. Had a cuss word, it takes a witch to curse that GD sky. And I remember being a kid being like, "Woo!" listening on my headphones, and he said the Lord's name in vain. But he just sounds so good when he just starts singing that "Night Falls on the City." He just sounds so good.
Yeah.
And so I Can't Stop the Rain, number 1 of that one. And it's my pick too. I love I Can't Stop the Rain. Great song. Can't say too much about it that I haven't already said. So that's my pick.
So yeah, I love I Can't Stop the Rain, but I actually went with See You in Your Dreams on this one because when I originally made the list, it was before Halloween, and as you can see, Halloween's my favorite holiday, and this song always reminds me of Freddy Krueger. I just feel like I can just see Freddy Krueger singing this song, and for that reason, with that and Halloween, I had to go with See You in Your Dreams. But any other time of the year, I would have gone with I Can't Stop the Rain.
All right. So that brings us to the last track, and the last track is the only track for Gene. Mm-hmm. And so it is When You Wish Upon a Star. So by default, Gene won this one, and a lot of people, they're like, "Ugh, if I gotta vote, I'll vote." And I'm like, come on. People act like this song is the damn plague. They act like it's the worst song that Kiss has ever put on an album, which it's not. That would be my way. But
as long as you didn't say Great Expectations, I'm fine.
yeah, it's like people, but I love When You Wish Upon a Star. I love the meaning that Gene has behind it. Mm-hmm. I love the reason why he chose it, because dreams can come true. Dreams do come true. I love that he sings this song and it means so much to him that his voice cracked at the end, and he starts off very low in his register, and by the end he's singing a high note, and this is his theme song. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of people, they hate it that he put it on the album. Why do you, this album was already a pile of crap. But it would have been better if they'd not put that song on the album. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I love When You Wish Upon a Star. Did I like it when I was a kid? Probably not.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, it's the Disney song, and I probably would have skipped it. But I love this. Whenever I went back and I was listening to the solo albums a couple years ago in depth to do my reviews, I fell in love with this song. And when it just starts and that I'll be sitting in my office working. I'll be and then he starts singing. It's just great. I love it. So When You Wish Upon a Star, I mean, it had to be my pick because it's the only pick. But I didn't
Right.
pick it. I didn't pick it begrudgingly. I was not one of those that picked it begrudgingly.
Right. No, absolutely. And I think it is one of those songs where if you don't know the reason behind why he put it on the album, I think you're going to feel different about it. And I've heard so many people say, I hated it. And then once I heard that story, I liked it a lot more. It totally changed them, changed their opinion on it. And yeah, I just think it's great. And I'll even make the argument that, like, okay, take the album cover, right? Take Gene with the blood dripping. Now imagine him like whispering this song into your ear. Creepy as hell, right? Like that would
When
be
you
weird.
wish
That would
upon
be
a star.
spooky, right? So if you put it into that context, then yeah, the song fits on the album. It's totally demon-esque and it's creepy and weird and out of left field, and I love it. I mean, I love it.
All right. So recapping, Gene won one song with When You Wish Upon a Star. Peter won one song with I Can't Stop the Rain.
Hmm.
Ace won four songs with Rip It Out, Speeding Back to My Baby, Snowblind, and I'm in Need of Love. And Paul won five songs with Wouldn't You Like to Know Me, Take Me Away, Together as One, It's All Right, Love and Change and Goodbye. So that makes the official winner Mr.
Oh,
Paul Stanley.
yeah.
Paul Stanley. Paul, good old Paul Stanley, people. People! All right. So, I got a little bonus trivia here, though. I was like, okay, well, who won between Gene and Peter? Like, if you was just looking at Gene and Peter's, most of them was usually scoring 3 or 4. Gene scored a 2 on one of them. If you was just looking at that, who would have won the most between Gene and Peter? And it was pretty close. It would have been Gene. Gene won 6 of the tracks between 6 of the 11 tracks between him and Peter, and the sixth track was When You Wish Upon a Star. So if you'd have took When You Wish Upon a Star away and just had 10 tracks against 10 tracks, it would have been 5-5. They would have been split.
Mm.
So I think that's why, because Aces and Pauls are so close, there was not a runaway. That's why
Right.
you constantly have the people that argue Paul's is better, Aces is better. And then you always have the people arguing about which is the worst of the solo albums. Is it Peter's or is it Gene's? Because
Yeah.
they're basically split 5-5 if you take away When You Wish Upon a Star. I think the next track versus track that we need to do is we need to see who's going to win between Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun.
Yes. Absolutely.
I think it is time for
Yes.
Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun to have it out. So that's what we're going to do. All right.
Yes.
So,
Very excited.
so that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. And I know that the Ace Frehley one for Anomaly is still out there. That'll be the next one that we do live. It'll be a live Wednesday, so just be looking for that to be posted. And appreciate you guys hanging out. Carla, as always.
Yeah. It's always fun. It's always fun to talk about Kiss. And um, if you haven't checked out Chris Jericho's podcast, Talk is Jericho, check that out. Chris Jericho is a wrestler, if you don't know who he is. Huge Kiss fan. He has Gene on a few episodes. He has Paul on I think at least 5 episodes, and one of the Paul episodes is just devoted to the solo album. So Paul goes in deep on those. He talks about the reason why they did them, the artwork, the making of them. They had like a listening party where they listened to all 4 of them. He goes in pretty deep on it. So if you want to get his opinion on them, check that podcast out.
I'll definitely have to check that out. Carla, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you guys watching day in and day out, week in and week out. And John, we missed you this time around, man. We missed you, but I'm going to try to get that footage together and put it up on my website. And I'll when I do, I'll post on YouTube. I'll do a community post and let you know that it's there. And you'll just have to excuse the audio. The outcome's the same. The outcome's not going to change. But you might want to go watch it if you can handle the in the audio. It doesn't start off right away, but it kind of comes in. I'm not going to cut it, so you'll see me screwing up and my phone dying and all kinds of my phone died and you'll get to see the uncleaned up version of a video cast. But you might run into it because I know for a fact that we talked about stuff that night just because John was there. We talked about stuff that we didn't talk about tonight, and plus we had John's input and thoughts on songs too.
Yeah.
And so he took the time to do it, so I really would like to put that out there in some form since he took the time to be on that. So I want to kind of honor his time and do that. Carla, I appreciate you doing this twice with me.
No problem. Anytime.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good one. We're out of here. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.
Bye, guys.